Composite bonding skills can be a huge asset in your general or cosmetic practice. As more patients are looking for non-invasive solutions to permanently whitening and perfecting their smiles, doctors that have skills in composite resin bonding are going to have a huge advantage. I'll walk you through my process. I start with a putty matrix made up off of a wax up, and I usually try this in for the patient using bisacrylic. This allows the patient to kind of see what their smile might look like and also gives me an idea of anything that I might change in this initial process. Using that putty matrix, I will then create a guide, and this just helps me figure out exactly where my incisal edges are going to go. I begin preparing the teeth by air abrasion usually to make sure everything is super clean. I then apply phosphoric acid. In this case, I'm using SDI's brand of Super Etch. I'm also using the SDI Stay Bond Agent, and I'll show you why in just a minute. The Super Etch is really easy to see and also really easy to clean off, and it doesn't come off too goopy, so I like that for that reason. You'll also notice I've only done the incisal edges. There's a reason for that as well. Watch the Stay adhesive go on. You see how it has such a low viscosity that it just flows everywhere. This is one of the reasons I like it. I'm only covering the incisal edges now because this patient recently had a gingivectomy and I don't want to get anything on the cervical aspect yet. We're going to get to that later. I want it to be protected. I'm also using the radii curing light. This light has a 360-degree rotating head that allows you to get a good photo cure pretty much anywhere in the oral cavity. It also has good ergonomics. For composites, I've chosen to use Aura E1. E1 is the brightest of the three enamel shades that SDI offers in the Aura line, and I'm using this composite to gently be pressed down into my putty mold. I've chosen this shade because it's a younger patient. It's going to be quite bright and a bit translucent at the incisal edge. After I've got it into the mold, I'll gently shape it with my instruments until I feel like all my embrasures and my incisal edge are precisely where I'd want them to be. And I'm going to use this as a guide as I move forward, and you'll see how that's done in the next few clips. Once you're happy with the incisal edge and the embrasure, go ahead and cure that in place. The next thing you want to do is apply both etch and bond again using an SDI point. SDI points are very good because of the high quality bristles that are on these brushes. I don't know if you've ever had a bristle come off in your restoration, but it's very frustrating when you're using a low quality brush to have a bristle get in there. These are high quality bristles. They'll spread things evenly and get everything in the right position. Next, we're going to want to create some effect and realism by adding some dentin. I'm going to be using Aura DB or dentin bleach. And you'll see me place just a little piece here right at the incisal edge. You can see how translucent that E1 is. That dentin now is going to go in there. We're going to start to create some mamelons and some things, little features and effects into our structure so that that can be seen visibly in the final product. And you'll see me, I'll just use a fine instrument. You can use the instrument of your choice. Remember on the central incisors, we kind of see that 3 mamelon effect, and you can do everything different for each tooth. There's just a little better shot of the kind of anatomy that you want to kind of create in the dentin. And here comes the magic. So this is my new favorite toy to make things very predictable. It's a band system. I'm going to show you how this works. This band system is placed up around each individual tooth, and what this does is it creates our emergence profile and our line angles in a very precise way, and also allows us to get some isolation from the gingiva. See, as I tuck this little hood in, it's going to create a very precise and very sort of idealized shape that we can then use to create our composites. That little blue stuff you saw me put on is a resin that adheres that band in place so it doesn't move. With the band in place, I'm going to put some Aura Easy Flow composite on the mesial and distal. This is a high strength, high aesthetic nano hybrid composite that seals the margin of the restoration and also gives you a nice enamel effect on both the mesial and the distal. This patient wanted to have a brighter smile in general, so we're going to increase the value of the teeth by using dentin shade composite. In this case, I'm using DB or dentin bleach, and I'm going to spread that layer fairly evenly over the gingival thirds and the middle thirds. As you can see, there already is a bit of brightness on the adjacent tooth on the incisal third. That's because you've already added dentin there. And then we're going to use, again, the Aura Easy Flow on the mesial and distal aspects to seal that restoration and make sure that your embrasures are glassy smooth. After we've cured the dentin layer, it is now time to add an enamel layer. The enamel layer is designed to not be more than half a millimeter thick, and this is for the best optical properties. That's the way SDI engineers have created this enamel. We're using the Unica anterior matrix system, and so we're going to just plug this up, this enamel shade up underneath that band, and then we're going to go back and smooth it out to the proper thickness with different instruments. We can also do that a bit in the polishing stage, but the Unica band system allows us to do this with remarkable precision and with a lot of predictability. But again, half a millimeter thick on the enamel layer. You'll see me using my spatula to sort of tuck it in, make sure that you do have some good compact composite against there. And then finally, I put a little bead of flowable, just a small bead, not much, and I'll just run over it with a bristle brush. You can see the bristles going that direction. Just gently touch that up with flowable and give it a cure. And what you're going to find is that tooth is going to be actually in almost an ideal shape. Repeat the same thing on the other side. Now that you've got your bands in place and they're a little more sturdy, you can kind of tuck it out of the way there and give yourself a little more visibility. Go ahead and take your spatula and add your dentin layer. This is to increase the value of this patient's smile. We're trying to make things brighter here in this case. That dentin shade is really important underneath there to make sure that happens. Otherwise, that enamel is just going to look better shape, but it's not going to have the value and the brightness that the patient's looking for. And when you take this band off, you're going to think, what is going on? Those don't look right. But trust me, that shape is actually correct. You just have excess there. And that's because, again, we've been putting flowable and tucking that composite, using the band system in between. But if you just take a red striped diamond and you'll be able to easily see where the excess is. Just take off the excess, use a disc, and start touching up the embrasures the way that you see fit. In this case, I'm going to round things off just a little bit. But as you start doing this, you're going to start to see that there's actually tremendous symmetry there. And I'll show you that in the final photos. The touch-up is very minimal when you use this band system. It just gets things so close that you don't spend, hours per tooth trying to make everything, trying to make all the line angles perfect. They'll come out very, very close, and then it just requires a little bit of touch-up in the end. Again, I'll use colored pencils, and I'll show you that in the end to get that a little more perfect there. We repeat the same process. I always start in the central incisors and go back. But you can see I've got my lateral in place there already, and I'm touching up the canine at this point, just moving from the center back. Again, same formula. Just put about 1 millimeter of composite overall. That means that you're going to split the difference between the dentin and the enamel shade. Maybe half a millimeter of each, maybe a little thicker on dentin if you want to increase the value more, or a little thicker on enamel if you want to have a little more translucency and opalescence. Again, using a red striped diamond to take off the excess, and following up with a flexible disc just to kind of get those embrasures rounded off. I try to avoid using the diamond on the embrasures. I just find that the disc makes things a little better. And we all know this trick. At the end, go ahead and just mark up your anatomy using colored pencils. I'm checking line angles, and I'm also putting a little mark there where I want my anatomy to be. And then I will go back with a red striped diamond and just touch up, put a little bit of secondary anatomy into the facial aspects of these composites. This allows light to bounce off there in different ways and gives the patient a little more natural look instead of that flat look that sometimes you see with composite bonding. This will help quite a bit. And I will go through a polishing system later, but really I just wanted to give you guys the basic structure. You can use whatever polishing system you like, but I also like to use a little bit of the SDI diamond paste at the end. Okay, so here we are with the results. Again, I was very pleased with the band system. That allowed me to achieve symmetry very, very quickly. And I also thought the composites gave me the right look that I was trying to achieve. Patient was very happy. I'll bring her back for some follow-up, but overall she left with a great smile and she was very pleased. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I had fun making it, and I hope that it gave you some tips that you can take back to the office. Thank you, everybody.